I know we got a little sidetracked there, but back to the question I'm trying to answer.
Sidetracked can be one word.
Michael mentioned to Sayori and I that other people who had nothing to do with this were getting pulled into this situation. I've deduced that it's a girl that Michael might be interested in to some degree. The only problem is I haven't been able to figure out who. So since you spend a lot of time around him, maybe he told you something.
Shiro leans back in his chair, probing his memories. Well, they never really talked about it. Even in his inner thoughts, they never really talked about girls all that much, except Shiro's eyes light up. Sam!
Who?
Sam Meadows. Quiet, reserved kind of girl. She's in our math class with Mr. Hara. She sits right behind him.
Interesting. I do think I have this Sam girl in one of my classes. Perhaps I can talk to her as well.
I don't know if she'll have anything to contribute, really. When I still hung around Michael, he was always kind of shy around her. But I haven't kept up with Michael since he left, so maybe they have started talking since then. I don't know. I think your best bet is to go to Kyla and Ruby, and then Kai if you really feel that's necessary.
Okay. Well, then I'll see if I can get this done today.
Alright. Well, best of luck to you, Charlotte. Please be careful and call me if you need help.
I will.
The two get out of their seats and exchange a hug before grabbing their belongings and heading out to their respective classes. Shiro anxiously walks down the increasingly crowded hallways to his next class. The weight of what Charlotte is about to do has been an uncomfortable thing for Shiro to process. I can't believe she's going to talk to Kai, Shiro thought to himself. It's been, 2 years since they last talked or saw each other? Not since I did the worst thing I ever did to someone else. Shiro nervously gulps. Well, maybe it won't be so bad. Maybe Kai won't go ballistic around her. He always did have a soft spot for her. Kinda made it easy to deduce that he liked her. And if the meeting I had with him was any indication, there may still be a part of him that reminisces about her. Perhaps there is a small chink in his armor that Charlotte can exploit. But I think that's all going to depend if she's mentally and emotionally up to it. I'll never forget the look on her face once the full weight of what she did to Kai back in middle school hit her. I never should have talked her into it. Shiro looks up to see someone familiar off in the distance leaning against one of the lockers on their phone. Speaking of talking, is that who I think it is? Shiro walks closer to get a better view. It's Ruby, he nervously gulps. Is it too soon to try to talk things over? Should I try? Are she and Kayla still mad at me? Ruby suddenly looks up from her phone to see Shiro staring right at her. Wow. Shiro stood silently in the middle of the increasingly crowded hallway, looking back at Ruby nervously as they locked eyes. For a brief moment, time stops. The two hadn't spoken in at least a week, not since the anime club split, not since the truth came out. Shiro can feel the creeping hand of guilt and shame grab onto him as his veins run cold. Ice cold. Has it been long enough? Is it finally time that I try to make amends with Kayla and Ruby? Do they even still view me as a friend? Do they hold me responsible for the club splitting? Those questions and many more swirl in Shiro's head like a tornado ripping through a city as he notices Ruby turning slowly to look down at the ground. Her eyes are shut. She grips her phone tightly as she embraces for what may be a game of chicken. Shiro steps out of the way of traffic by the lockers as he works to collect what little courage still remained within him. Well, who knows when the next time I'll get the chance to talk to her will be, Shiro thought to himself. This is my mess. I was responsible for bringing Michael into the club and everything that followed. I don't know if they'll forgive me, but it's not like things will get better if I just avoid them. Shiro takes a deep breath and surfs his way towards the crowd to Ruby. Surfs his way towards the crowd? You mean through the crowd? Who had now looked back up at him with a mix of emotions on her face. Also, crowd surfing is like when they carry you over the top. I don't know why you chose this particular combination of verbs. After about a good half-minute, Shiro exits the moving wall of people and stands right in front of Ruby. A long pause between them follows. Normally Ruby would have had no problem approaching Shiro, or vice versa, and they would have been chatting up a storm by now about their day or the latest anime they've been binging. But now, it's as if those days had never happened, and the two are now looking at each other as if they were either complete strangers or relics of a life long left behind. After the pause drags on for eternity, Ruby moves her mouth to say something, but quickly cuts herself off. Shiro takes a deep breath and is about to say the first word when Ruby miraculously beats him to it instead.
Shiro.
Hey, Ruby, he says awkwardly as he nods his head. I, saw you from over there. Figured I'd just check on you to see how you were holding up, despite things. Ruby manages a small smile.
I've been all right.
So what are you doing here?
Oh, just waiting for the teacher to come unlock the door.
As Ruby says that, she notices the faint bruises that mark Shiro's chin and jawline.
You look like you've been better.
Yeah, I have.
What happened?
Don't worry about it. I fell down the stairs.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm not going to make you tell me what happened if you don't want to,
she says irritably. Shiro lets out a pained sigh. Yeah, that's not what happened. It's a long story, and I'd rather not get into that now. Shiro anxiously looks back at Ruby, who stares back with a stone-cold expression.
Well, why couldn't you have just said that from the start?
Shiro starts, about to come up with some excuse off the fly, but realizes the futility of his situation. You're right, I should have. Like I should have from the very beginning. He mutters out as his voice slightly breaks. Ruby drops her cold stare and looks down at the floor, a moment of clarity striking her.
Shiro, I get that this isn't easy for you. I'm sure you must have worked up a lot of courage to face me after what happened. I just wanted to let you know that Kayla and I don't hate you, and we don't blame you for what happened.
Really?
It wasn't entirely your fault, and some of it was out of your control, or our control.
Yeah, I guess it was.
But what I don't understand is why you've waited this long to try to talk to us. No calls, no texts, no nothing from you. I was actually about to reach out to you over the weekend to check on you before I stopped myself. Why did you lie to us, your best friends?
I recognize I fucked up badly.
Pretty badly.
Yeah, I lied to you. I lied to Kayla. I lied to Emily, David, Bailey, Kyle, Natsuki, everyone. Even myself.
I can understand not telling Emily or anyone else the whole truth, but Kayla and I went to bat for you. Hard.
I remember.
Do you know how much shit Kayla and I took for defending you? How many fights and how much drama we were involved in because someone accused you of what we thought was a lie? We were glad to do it for you because we believed you were telling us the truth. That Kai was slandering your name to be some petty little bitch. But when you finally told us that you actually had something to do with that poem, well, I was disappointed to say the least. It kind of felt that it was all for nothing.
What about Kayla?
I'm not going to speak for Kayla on this. She has an entirely different opinion, but she doesn't hate you either.
Well, I'm glad to know things are salvageable between us.
It all depends if you start telling us the truth or not. I'm willing to be friends with you again if it meant total honesty about everything.
I see, Shiro says as he guiltily looks down at the floor. He lets out another sigh, this time fighting back against the tide of emotions coursing through him. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I lied to you guys about the poem. I freaked out when I saw that this was posted around the school, and I figured at the time the best approach was to deny everything to everybody, including to you guys. I denied that I wrote any sort of poem about Monica. I denied for as long as I could that I had those kinds of feelings for Monica. I even considered denying that I wrote poems before I realized that people would have seen through that, too. But the fact that it was posted around the school and that it was so absurdly graphic, as well as having an alibi that was thankfully corroborated, was at least enough for me to avoid getting expelled. I still got punished pretty badly, had detention twice a week for almost the entire second half of last year. Thank God they still let me attend anime club and let me pick my days. Still, there wasn't enough actual proof for me to get expelled, even though the poem being in my handwriting almost sealed my fate. I think my one big saving grace during that time was that Caitlin just hot potatoed me off the principal ranking and didn't slap on any other charges, even though I know she saw right through me. I really thought I was a goner when I got hauled into my sit-down with her, especially with the deck stacked against me. It certainly didn't help that Monica was a popular debate club member and Caitlin herself being the ex-president of it.
Yeah, and Caitlin never liked any of us. I guess it was because Emily didn't go along with her crap of trying to control the clubs. Emily always told us that Caitlin would constantly tell her, "You're either with me or against me."
Yeah, but as much as she may have hated me or the anime club, she hated Kai even more for all the headaches he caused her. Deep down, I think she knew he did it, just could never prove it. Anyways, I guess that I got so caught up in lying that I lost track of what I really did. I tried to forget about it and move on from it, but Kai just couldn't resist talking about it again once he saw me with Michael. I told him what I told you guys, that I had absolutely nothing to do with it, even though that wasn't exactly true.
And then what is true?
That version of the poem that was posted around the school wasn't mine. Don't need that comma. I didn't write that version. I've never written anything like that anything that sexually graphic in my life.
Why should I believe you now?
If I still had my original copy, I'd show it to you. But coincidentally, I lost it right before the doctored version got posted. Which isn't a good look for me right now. I know Kai got his hands on it somehow, but I've never figured out how he knew I wrote poems.
Well, if that's the case, Kai talks or stalks people pretty relentlessly. He could have just been digging through your binder one day or saw that you dropped it by accident.
I doubt it, but there's no point in speculating. It happened,
I guess so.
Ruby says deflatedly.
Shiro, I really want to believe you, I do. But you kept this lie up for a year, too.
I know, and I should have come clean sooner. I didn't want to admit it to anything because I figured if I did, I'd lose you guys too, and then I'd be all alone facing this. Once you guys started defending me, I thought at the time there was no going back and I had to run with it. I never anticipated it being such an issue. Hell, I never expected Kai to keep using it against me after a year. I thought summer vacation would have wiped it from everyone's memory.
Oh, so you never anticipated? How long were you going to keep that up?
I wanted to tell you guys eventually. I really did. I just didn't know when the right time was going to be.
Shiro, I just don't know what to say to you. We're your friends. We stick by each other and we have each other's backs. But most importantly, we're straight with each other. We've never kept anything that serious from you.
I know, and I'm sorry. I should have been honest from the start, but again, I was worried if you guys knew the truth, you would have bailed.
We wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have. If what you're telling me is true, if you had told us last year, I still would have defended you in front of Kai and anyone else that had harassed you. All you had to say to us was, I didn't write that particular poem about Monica, but I did write some other poems that were innocent. Hell, I remember you showing me some of your poems about her. That's why I believed you.
I probably felt that telling you guys something like that at the time would have just made me look guilty. You also forget I didn't get in trouble for just the poem. I did other things as well that I shouldn't have. The poem was the last straw, but I was courting her way too aggressively from the start, and that was used against me.
The things you weren't proud of.
Shiro stoically, Nards? I'm sure you meant stoically. I don't know where this T got in there. I don't want to go into everything I did here and now, but look, I just want us to be friends again. I miss you guys. I just want to clear the air so we can move past this. So, could the three of us just have to sit down or have a sit down at some point? Ruby pauses for a moment, lost in thought. She doesn't say anything. The only thing audible coming from Ruby is the sound of her shifting feet. After about a minute, she lets out a sigh.
Okay. I'll talk to Kayla. I'll see if she'd be willing. If she's not, I'd be at least willing to hear you out.
Thank you. I know I don't deserve this. I thought this whole thing was going to make you guys view me as some creep that you wanted nothing to do with.
Believe me, Shiro, I've dealt with my share of creeps over the years. What you did is just the tip of the iceberg to what I've seen and had happened to me.
Wow. You never really mentioned anything like that to me before.
It's more of a Kayla and me thing. Besides, I know you don't really care to hear what we do in our spare time.
Well, if someone's bothering you, yeah, I would have cared to hear.
It wasn't anything we couldn't handle ourselves. I appreciate the concern, though.
Alright. Besides, I know I shouldn't be pressing you for details on something that's uncomfortable. I know I'm the one on trial.
Don't think of it like that, Shiro.
Ruby takes a step towards him, softly placing her hand on his shoulder.
It's like you said, you're clearing the air. That's all we want. We just want to understand what really happened and why this was kept from us.
I understand. Is Kayla really that mad at me?
Well, you know how she gets sometimes. She was more upset that she had to disband the club, and she initially pinned it on you and Michael, but she's calmed down now for the most part.
Well, she's not entirely wrong. I brought Michael in. He was kind of my responsibility.
You can't blame yourself for Michael's decision. He decided to do what he did for himself.
Yeah, about that. Ruby suspiciously raises an eyebrow at Shiro as she withdraws her hand from his shoulder. By any chance, did he ever talk to you or Kayla about me?
Yeah, he actually did, the day he got initiated. He was asking me about all the rumors about you, and I just told him that were what I knew. I don't know if he talked to Kayla, but I wouldn't be surprised. Why are you asking?
Well, someone wants to talk to you and Kayla about that.
Who and what for?
My old friend Charlotte. She's making herself do me a favor by investigating she's making herself... Oh, yeah, okay. Investigating why Michael decided to leave. She seems to think whatever you told him would be the last few puzzle pieces she needs to understand what happened. And she and I both think that there may be more to Michael's decision, aside from Kai bullying him out of the club.
Well, what are you guys thinking?
I don't want to say it here, too many years. But if you talk to Charlotte, I'm sure she'll tell you.
Oh, okay. Just give her my number and I'll work something out.
Also, one more thing I wanted to ask you. What's up with these rumors about you and Kayla? Charlotte was telling me about it earlier.
It just started yesterday out of nowhere. I heard it from someone, and then the next thing I knew, Kayla and I both were being called a bunch of nasty things by everybody. We think we know who did it, but we couldn't get her to confess. Plus, Jeremy forbade us to go near her again.
Wait. Forbade us to go near her too. But again, it would have also made sense. Who?
Bella Jacobs.
Cheryl lets out a groan. Yeah, I can't say I'm too surprised. She's never had a problem spreading rumors. Charlotte had heard it from her as well.
Yeah, we got enough confirmation for us to know she did it, but she didn't fold. And with Jeremy now cock-blocking us because Kayla got too snippy with him, we're shut out. So we just have to hope that it just runs its course and people forget about it. At least so far since I got here, I haven't had any problems outside the usual cat calls.
Jeez. You know, I hate to say this, but it wouldn't shock me if Kai somehow had a hand in this. He knows Charlotte is looking into the anime club. He told me himself.
Oh my.
Ruby trails off as reality begins to set in.
If this is as serious as I think this is, and since Kai is clearly going to great lengths to cover it up, end of statement,
she says, gesturing to Shiro's bruises.
Are you sure she should be doing this alone?
I've tried talking her out of it. She's not going to budge until she finds out what she wants or exhausts her options. She wants to talk to Kai, too.
That doesn't sound like a good idea.
I know. I just gave her some advice and I hope she listens. Honestly, this whole thing just has me on edge. I don't care so much about being roughed up, but if something happens to Charlotte... Shiro cuts himself off, unable to finish his thought. Yeah.
I get you. Well, hopefully this nightmare comes to an end and we can get back to the way things were.
I hope so too. Shiro and Ruby stare awkwardly at each other, unsure what to say next. After about a half minute, Ruby opts to continue.
Okay, well, I suppose that's that.
Yeah, Shiro says, forcing a small smile. Ruby kindly returns one of her own.
I'll keep in touch with you about everything. Just take care of yourself, Shiro.
You too. The two exchange a fist bump before Shiro heads off to Mr. Hara's room, while Ruby sinks back against the wall to process her conversation with Shiro. Across the hallway, a particular student shuts his locker at roughly the same time Shiro starts walking off, which briefly catches Ruby's attention. He quickly walks down the hallway, brushing past the oncoming traffic to relay what he had just heard, quickly getting out of Ruby's sight.
I'm telling you, Connor, if you want to get down to the archives, this is the way you'll have to play it.
Oh, I think I gave him the other voice last time, but whatever. I don't see how that's going or got anything to do with what you want from me. You're asking for a lot here.
Well, if you're not going to do what I ask, I guess you'll never set your foot down there.
Connor lets out a defeated sigh.
I'm only trying to help you, man. I like helping others.
So what, you're some kind of saint now?
If it helps you sleep at night. Look, it's not really that big of a deal. You're helping me out with your fellow classmates. We're all in this hell together, aren't we?
I mean, yeah, but I'm not some damn thief.
I'm not some damn thief,
Kai says, mimicking him.
First of all, it's not like you're actually stealing anything. Trust me on that. Think of yourself as somebody like Robin Hood in this situation.
You do realize that if I get caught, I'd be lucky to not get suspended.
Then just don't get caught. All you have to do is liberate some particular trading cards that Mrs. Kaplan has locked in her desk. You're in the best position to do so since she's the one that lets you use her room for debate club.
Yeah, but it's not like I really get the chance to look through her things. I'm not going to snoop through her desk.
Well, if you don't, then you're never going to even see where the archives are. If you're not man enough to do this, you'll just have to keep wondering what your brother did. Tough luck.
My brother's more of a man than you'll ever be.
Then why did he get sent over the river?
You watch your mouth, he says, taking a step towards Kai.
Easy, Connor. No need to get so worked up. I'm just stating the obvious. But you should know how this works. I help you, you help me. You get those stupid trading cards, then I'll help you convince Jeremy or one of his student council morons to let you down there. After that, it's a straight shot in getting you in. Just don't get caught looking in Miss Kaplan's desk. Once you get me those cards, nothing will be traced back to you.
Connor lets out a long sigh as he briefly turns around to consider his options. He takes to pacing around the stairwell while Kai leans back against the wall, smiling smugly. Eventually, he lets out a groan and turns to face Kai. All right, I'll see what I can do.
I know you can see reason. All right, Robin Hood, off you go. Text me when you get those cards.
Connor lets out another sigh at Kai as he exits the stairwell.